As the sun sank, shadows stretched across the room. I thought I was alone, until I turned and saw Jace, his eyes fixed on the object in my hands. My heart raced. This was no ordinary moment. It marked the start of a perilous journey, a web of secrets and desire that would alter everything. As the sun dipped low, casting a warm glow in my room, I was organizing my things when suddenly the door creaked softly behind me. I pivoted, and there was Jace, framed in the doorway, eyes locked on the object in my hands. My heart stopped. What's the best way to say this clearly? The object exuded a menacing aura, clearly not harmless at all. A stunning, colorful toy well commanded attention in any serious discussion. With a quick flick of my wrist, I yanked it from the drawer's depths, focused on cleaning the cabinet's back while my thoughts drifted elsewhere. I was sure I had locked the door tight. Jace, a lively 23, was my stepchild. His arrival caught everyone off guard. He wasn't expected back so soon. In the bustling town, he worked at a nearby brewery, where the air buzzed with the rich aroma of hops and malt. As the sun set, he often found himself with friends, sharing laughter and stories late into the night after his shifts. He stood tall and slender, black hair cascading into amused blue eyes, a captivating sight full of intrigue. What could it be? He asked, his voice a mix of curiosity and mischief, making my cheeks flush with embarrassment. I dropped the item like it was on fire, snatching a throw pillow from the bed to stash it away fast. "It's not your concern," I whispered softly. A tightening gripped my throat as I noticed his expression remained unyielding and steady. He leaned against the doorframe, curiosity intensifying. "No need to act embarrassed," he said with a playful chuckle. "Absolutely, I've made that move. It was an experience like no other." I felt a strong urge to slip into the shadows. It's incredible to see this person standing there, cool and composed, while my world spiraled into chaos. I chuckled softly, trying to ease the heavy gaze on me. Jace shot back. "Honestly, mind your own business. Your presence here is a surprise." But he remained completely still. For a brief moment, silence enveloped us, heavy and intense. He averted his gaze from the pillow I held. He locked eyes with me. His gaze was intense, lacking the usual easygoing or playful expressions I had come to expect. This one held on with relentless determination and passion. It was like he stripped away my facade, exposing a completely different soul underneath. A sudden warmth surged in my chest, quickly followed by a sharp pang of regret. That was a blunder. This was clearly a mistake. Picture this. A bizarre twist of fate lands me in the role of his stepmother. Unbelievable, right? Once I married his father. I broke the silence and disrupted the calm. Jace shrugged, raising his hands in a mock surrender. He acknowledged me casually, but just before he left, he shot one last look my way, a glance that intensified the whirlwind of thoughts in my mind as the door clicked shut. I settled on the edge of the bed, clutching the pillow tight, my heartbeat pulsing in the quiet. The item slipped from my fingers as I tried to put it back in the drawer. An undeniable shift hung in the air, and despite my efforts to ignore it, I realized my perception of Jace would be changed for the entire night. The moment flickered in my mind's corners. I set off on a quest of hard work. As evening fell, I whipped up a tasty dinner, tackled the laundry, and plopped down next to Edward on the couch, where he was engrossed in classic westerns lighting up the screen. Jace's smile radiated joy, while the unsettling sparkle in his eyes lingered in my mind. Edward hardly noticed my distraction. It was a minor issue, barely deserving a second glance. Since retiring, he dove headfirst into his favorite hobbies, tending to his garden, woodworking, and tackling crossword puzzles. I held no bitterness towards him for this. That idea would have been way too simple. There were times I felt more like a caregiver than a partner. Jace's shadow flickered briefly in his room before darting down the hall. I caught the soft murmur. The music pulsed from his door, a deep bass line cutting through the calm of the home, sending my heart racing in an exhilarating jolt. I glanced at Edward, my husband, peacefully asleep. His chin dipped toward his chest, a small gesture that said so much. Once more, he dozed off in his reliable recliner. The television buzzed as I debated waking him up, but I questioned the point of doing so. I got up and strolled into the kitchen, enjoying a quick moment of peace, but my break was sure to be short-lived. Jay slipped in, his bare feet silent on the floor. He slipped into a faded t-shirt and comfy sweatpants on the hardwood floor. His hair was a delightful mess, like he'd just emerged from a whirlwind adventure, fingers playfully tousling it. "Hey," he said casually, swinging open the fridge and grabbing a bottle of water. "The night has cloaked you, hasn't it?" I placed my hand on his shoulder and gave it a quick, gentle squeeze. "You're not trapped," I said, my voice shaking, hoping he wouldn't sense my unease. In that brief instant, his hand covered mine, and the connection sparked an intimacy that felt almost unreal. I pulled back quickly, but the damage was done. A line crossed, a boundary blurred. Did I still have the strength to end it all? As the sun sank, shadows enveloped the sky, and a storm loomed on the night's edge. The air crackled with excitement, as if the ground itself was ready for an untold story to burst forth. Edward, true to form, hit the hay early, grumbling about a persistent ache in his shoulder. As I settled into the cozy living room, a book in hand, my thoughts soared, swept away by the storm raging outside. A single building within me buzzed with restlessness, unpredictability, and a touch of danger. Jace filled the kitchen, the fridge's rhythmic opening and closing breaking the house's silence. The clink of glass on glass caught my attention as he poured himself a drink. In an instant, he burst into the living room, 2 glasses of whiskey in hand, eager to share a moment of warmth and camaraderie. He asked, curiosity sparking in his raised brow. In a flash, I blinked, completely taken aback. "I rarely treat myself to a drink at this time." He flashed a playful grin and handed me a glass, not waiting for my response, as if the night was brimming with secrets ready to be revealed. In a flash of doubt, I grabbed the cool glass. Jace plopped into the armchair across from me, his legs stretching out comfortably as he leaned into my palm. The lamp next to me cast a warm glow on his face, highlighting the sharp lines of his jaw and the subtle shadow of stubble on his chin. "Which story are you jumping into?" he asked, pointing at the book in my lap. With a playful grin, I held it up and said, "Just something light." "It was nothing thrilling," he replied with a sly smile. "That's tough to swallow." I chuckled softly, relishing the whiskey's warmth as it met my lips. The flames flickered, providing a welcome escape from the rising tension below. We hung in a cozy silence as the storm outside raged on, until he shattered the calm with his words again. His voice has a gentle, whispering tone. "Can I ask you something?" I shot him a tired look. "It all comes down to the details, right?" He swirled the liquid in his glass, staring intently, as if the depths contained the answers to his thoughts. Ever felt stuck in a situation where moving forward seems out of reach? His question caught me off guard. It mirrored the question he'd asked on the porch, but now it felt weighty. At times, my voice was quieter than I wished. He lifted his gaze, and just like that, our eyes met. "You don't seem like the type to get stuck in a bind. Your spirit is way too lively for that kind of ending." A warm blush rushed to my cheeks as I looked away, quickly setting my glass on the coffee table. "Jace, it's better to hold back on comments like that. What's stopping us?" "Absolutely, that's right." His words hung in the air, packed with unspoken meaning. I shot up, driven by the need to put space between us. "I think it's time to say goodbye to this evening," I whispered, avoiding his gaze. Just as I was about to step out, darkness swallowed me whole as the power flickered and disappeared. Shadows closed in, confusion surged, and I froze. I whispered, my voice shaking with doubt. "It's just the storm," Jace said, his voice calm and confident. I heard his feet gliding softly over the carpet. "Hold on, I'll grab a flashlight for you." I felt him coming, the soft rustle of fabric signaling his approach. His hand brushed against mine in the shadows, and I gasped, completely taken by surprise. He uttered apologies but stayed right there, refusing to back away from the moment. His hand brushed against mine, and suddenly, the air around us shifted. I stood frozen in place. I couldn't do it. My heart raced so fast, I was certain he could hear its echo. Claire whispered softly, his voice barely a breath. I turned my gaze his way, but the darkness hid him from sight. His presence wrapped around me, a warm comfort, matched by the steady rhythm of his breath. His hand swept up to my wrist, cradling it gently. "This is a terrible idea," I whispered, my voice shaking with doubt. He replied, but he clung on fiercely. In a split second, lightning lit up the scene, revealing his earnest, vulnerable face just inches away. Then he kissed me. The kiss started softly, a tentative touch of lips, as if he feared my rejection, but I stayed still, embracing the moment. I leaned into him, gripping his shirt like he was the only solid thing in a spinning world. As the lights flickered back on, we pulled away, both panting, the reality of what just happened hitting me like a tidal wave. I took a step back, hands shaking. "Absolutely not," I shot back, shaking my head decisively. Jace embraced silence, allowing the moment to linger. He stood quietly, his expression shrouded in intrigue. "I get it," he said, his voice steady, but the damage was done. The next few days zipped by, packed with quick glances and unspoken words hanging in the atmosphere. I avoided Jace at all costs, diving into chores and errands, grabbing any distraction to keep my mind busy. Still, no matter what I do, the memory of his lips on mine and the warmth of his hand on my wrist that night, while I folded laundry sticks with me, like an echo. Jace suddenly appeared in the doorway. "We need to talk," he said, voice firm and unwavering. I focused my eyes on the ground. Silence that shouts. "Absolutely there is." He stepped into the room and shut the door, cutting off the outside world. I set the laundry down with a sigh and finally locked eyes with him. "Jace, this has to stop now. Is it really wrong?" he asked with a challenging tone, "as it feels right to me." His words sliced through the air, sending chills down my spine, but I found the strength to stay put. Calm. Picture this. Edward, blissfully unaware of the brewing storm, while Jace is poised to jump in at any second. The air crackles with tension, charged with unspoken words and looming revelations. And even if he did, do you really think he would care? These days, he barely acknowledges you're there. His words cut through the air, heavy with truth that hung uncomfortably, but that truth didn't bestow righteousness. "This story isn't about him," I declared, my voice rising, "that this is about us, about the undeniable truth that whatever this is, cannot happen. It's more than just being wrong. It feels out of reach." Jace leaned in, eyes sparkling with curiosity. His gaze locked onto mine, freezing the moment. What sparks this question? Wrestling with your own thoughts, you fear the judgments of others. I opened my mouth to speak, but silence wrapped around me. Claire's voice dropped to a gentle tone. "I don't want to complicate things, but I can't ignore my feelings for you." "I don't believe you. Tears are already stinging at the corners of my eyes. I shifted my eyes away from you. I'm feeling a little lost." I leaned in, urging, "Now, tell me everything." His voice was a desperate plea, but I struggled to express the chaotic battle inside me, the guilt, the fear, the longing that overwhelmed my mind. I shook my head and brushed past him, exiting the room in silence. That night, sleep slipped away from me. Reclining in bed, I stared at the ceiling, lost in the soothing rhythm of Edward's breathing beside me. A whirlwind of thoughts and emotions swirled in my mind, a chaotic dance I couldn't untangle. I jumped up and headed to the kitchen, craving a glass of water to calm my restless spirit. As I stepped into the hallway, I froze in place. Jace's door was slightly open, and there he was, casually leaning against the frame, clearly waiting for me. "Rest slips away," he asked, his voice just a whisper. I shook my head, silence enveloping me, my voice slipping away. We locked eyes for what seemed like forever, the air charged with unspoken words and electric tension. In a flash, I turned and headed back to my room, quietly shutting the door behind me. As I settled back into my resting place, I felt a lingering sense that this tale was just getting started. This thrilling, perilous connection hung like a shadow, leaving me unsure if I really wanted it around. The next event happened without a storm's cover or a light to escape into. This time, it was on purpose. It all kicked off in the most surprising spot, the laundry room. Grabbing the warm towels from the dryer, I dove into the familiar rhythm of folding, my quick escape from the everyday grind. In the quiet of the house, silence filled every nook. Edward swung by a friend's place to watch a game, and I thought I had the whole space to myself. The floorboards creaked behind me. "Always busy," Jace said, his tone light, but with an intriguing hint I couldn't pin down. I decided to move forward without glancing back. "Someone has to," I shot back, keeping my cool. He let out a soft chuckle. "Good point. But do you ever feel worn out? What's it tired of, handling every detail, looking out for everyone around you? When did someone last show you real care?" His words sliced through me like a razor-sharp blade. I pivoted, clutching a folded towel to my chest like a shield. "Jace, I don't think this is a conversation for us to dive into. What's stopping us?" he asked, casually leaning against the doorframe. He looked totally at ease, completely unbothered. His eyes told a story, sharp, searching, and intensely focused on me as I spoke, my voice trembling. "It's not appropriate," he repeated, pondering a word that just doesn't fit with honesty, right? I was eager to jump into the debate too, shut him up before he says anything that could make things worse. Just as I was about to, he closed the distance. As he approached, his voice warm and inviting, he assured her, "No need for a facade with me, Claire. Your essence shines through my gaze. I see how you move through the heart of this home. Your knack for keeping everything together while others just take is impressive. Why not treat yourself to something special now?" My throat tightened and I shook my head, backing up until the counter dug into my hips. "Jace, this has to stop, no question about it." His hand brushed against mine, a brief touch that hung in the air. A small, simple act, but it felt like the ground was shifting beneath me. "There's no way you're immune to it," he said. His voice was a soft murmur, barely piercing the silence. I opened my mouth to speak, but silence wrapped around me. The truth felt too heavy to share, not with him, or even with myself. Just like that night in the living room, he kissed me, and this time I embraced it. The days that followed were a whirlwind of stolen moments and whispered secrets, each one bursting with untold stories. We thought we were prepared, but were we really? Jace effortlessly slipped into my life, always eager to help with dinner, fix that pesky cabinet door, or join me on errands in those early days. It was an exhilarating rush, the thrill of the forbidden electrifying my veins, but the weight of our situation hung over me like a looming storm. I knew deep down it was just a brief moment. Time was slipping away, and I felt the impending collapse closing in. One fateful afternoon, while I was quickly stowing away groceries, I sensed a warm presence behind me. Jace wrapped his arms around my waist, pulling me close. A jolt of tension shot through me as my eyes flicked to the doorway, scanning for any lurking shadows. Jace hissed sharply, struggling to escape. Any second now, 6 could burst in, oozing mystery as they stride through the door. Jace chatted at the hardware store, calm and relaxed, but I couldn't shake my own tension. A creeping dread gnawed at my core. Every time Edward looked at me, a thought sparked. Did he see Monica, our nosy neighbor, waving from across the street? She seemed to see right into my soul. "We need to talk," he said, spinning around to confront Jace about his request. His expression said it all. About this. About us. His jaw tightened, and in that instant, I saw the fiery anger flickering in his eyes. What story shall we create together? This Habuzi keeps going strong. I reluctantly said, "It's too risky." What a tale it weaves for Edward, right? An unfair twist of fate. Edward's voice soared, rising with every word. "What feels fair to you? Are you really paying attention to what you say? You're so wrapped up in thoughts of him that you've lost sight of what you truly want." My desires mean nothing. In a flash of intensity, I snapped, "It's not about my journey." Jace shot back quickly. "Happiness is a treasure waiting for you to seize. Melina, you deserve a companion who truly understands the depth of your words, hanging in the air, powerful and steadfast." I wanted to challenge him, but a quiet truth inside me stopped me. I knew he spoke wisely. Weeks later, the moment of truth hit when Edward invited Monica and her husband over for dinner. I was determined to be the perfect hostess. All evening, Monica's intense gaze bore down on me, leaving me with an unsettling feeling that she was hiding something after dinner. As I was cleaning the kitchen, Monica marched up to me with purpose. "You've been distracted lately," she said, her tone light but her gaze intense. "Just busy," I replied with a smile that felt a bit forced. The classic story we all know well. She leaned in, whispering softly, "Is Edward in the loop?" "No." My heart froze, pounding hard in my chest. "No," she shrugged, her expression unreadable. "Whatever's going on with you and Jace." The ground vanished beneath me, plunging me into a dizzying void. "I'm not sure I get what you mean." I spoke, my voice shaking. Monica smiled, but the warmth of her expression felt distant, her eyes untouched by the joy her lips tried to show. "Stay sharp, my friend." That night, Claire's secrets spilled out, one by one. As I lay in bed, Monica's words echoed in my mind, refusing to let go. I was caught, hanging between two worlds on a collision course. The next morning, Jace found me in the garden, yanking at the weeds with an intensity that felt a bit over the top. "Looks like you're staying away," he said. His voice was steady, but a hint of frustration slipped through. I whispered, my eyes drifting. "I'm trying to protect us." "Protect us from what?" he asked. As I stepped closer, the tension crackled in the air. I spoke up, standing tall, my hands brushing against my jeans. "Monica knows Jace well. She has the know-how." His brow furrowed, shadows darting across his face. "How could she even know?" "I might be clueless, but she's got the answers," I shot back. Her voice climbed as she confronted Edward, who confidently declared, "If you say you won't, you don't really know that." I hit my breaking point. But the danger here is beyond your understanding." Jace grabbed my hand, his grip strong but soft. "I want to hold you close." His voice hit me with raw emotion, leaving me speechless and unsure how to react. I finally spoke, my voice barely a whisper, but the tension of caution filled the air for both of us. Tension hung in the air in the days that followed. Monica stayed quiet. To Edward, everything seemed fine, but her doubt hung over me like a stormy cloud. Jace tried to soothe my nerves, but his tension was palpable. Just when the tension peaked, Edward unexpectedly burst through the door earlier than anyone expected. In the dim laundry room, Jace and I stood uncomfortably close, the air charged with unspoken tension. When the front door creaked open, we quickly split apart, hearts racing like young lovers caught in a thrilling moment. Edward's voice rang out, calling my name. I answered, steady, even as panic churned inside me. Edward burst through the doorway, his eyes scanning the room with eager curiosity. For a brief moment, I thought he might speak, but he just nodded. The delicious aroma of dinner filled the air as I declared, "Dinner's almost ready." He left in a flash, not saying a word, but his piercing gaze lingered in my mind long after he vanished. That night, sleep slipped away from me. The laundry room moment replayed in my mind, Edward's gaze lingering on me just a heartbeat too long. I stood on the edge of a vast abyss, feeling the inevitable collapse approaching, yet I couldn't take that final step into the unknown. The connection between Jace and me was a whirlwind, impossible to ignore or walk away from. But deep down, I felt the storm was just getting started. The story was just beginning. Edward burst through the door earlier than usual, but this time, it was about more than just the clock. I didn't see that coming. His face was tight, an unreadable mask that gave away nothing. Jace Edward burst through the door, his briefcase hitting the floor with a thud, his voice slicing through the air and sending a chill down my spine. Jace breezed into the hallway, his laid-back vibe clashing sharply with the intense tension emanating from Edward. "Hello, how's it going today?" He leaned against the wall, hands casually in his pockets, and asked. Edward's eyes narrowed, a spark of intensity igniting inside him. "Let's talk. Now." His voice left no room for disagreement. Jace shot me a quick glance, worry flickering in his eyes, then hurried after Edward into the living room. In the kitchen, I stood frozen, my heart pounding with excitement. Initially, their voices faded, just echoes of Edward's deep rumble and Jace's softer responses. As their exchange heated up, their dialogue sharpened, slicing through the fog. "I know what's been happening," Edward said, his voice icy as winter's breath. "What story are you spinning?" Jace replied, his voice calm but wary. "Cut the act," Edward shot back. "I've seen the glances you exchange, your eyes sparkling with unspoken words. Do you really think I can't see?" A chill raced through my veins. A whisper of doubt nudged him to confront Jace Edward. Jace said, "You're spinning stories in your head." With surprising steadiness, he insisted that everything was fine. "Don't lie to me," Edward shouted, followed by the sharp crack of something shattering, maybe glass, resonating in the air. It was time to step out of the shadows. As I stepped in, my hands trembled with excitement, and Edward stopped dead in his tracks. The two men faced me, their expressions wildly different. Edward's face twisted with anger and betrayal, while Jace stood defiantly, unyielding. Edward spoke, his voice low but charged with threat. "Tell me the truth. Are sparks flying between you two?" As I opened my mouth, silence wrapped around me, and my words stayed locked inside. My silence said it all. Edward laughed bitterly, fingers running through his thinning hair. "I knew it!" he exclaimed, his voice shaking with emotion. "I didn't want to believe it, but deep down I knew. Edward, please." I stepped closer, but he stopped me with a raised hand, his voice steady. "Don't even try to justify it," he warned. "Nothing you say can fix this." The room fell into a thick silence, pierced only by the relentless ticking of the clock on the wall. Finally, Edward confronted Jace, his eyes burning with intensity. "You're out," he said coldly. "Pack your things and leave by nightfall." Jace stood firm, jaw clenched in resolve. "I'm staying put." "You bet I am," Edward shot back, brimming with defiance. "You can't stay under my roof and treat me with such disrespect." "You need to calm down," Jace said, his voice steady and firm, only igniting Edward's anger further. He stepped closer to Jace, fists clenched at his sides. "Don't even think about telling me to calm down, you little one." "Enough!" I shouted, stepping in between them decisively. "Both of you just stop," Edward said, turning to me, his eyes filled with anguish. "What were you thinking, Claire?" he asked, his voice shaking after everything I've given for you. "I never meant for it to go like this," I whispered, my voice shaky, tears streaming down my face. "I never meant to hurt you." "Oh, but you did," he shot back, bitterness lacing his words. "Now I'm facing the harsh truth, my own wife and son." He paused, shaking his head in disbelief. I'm at a loss for words. Jace reached out, but I pulled back, leaving a charged silence between us. His touch was electrifying, intensified by Edward's watchful gaze. Parting ways feels like the smartest move for me. Edward leaned in, his eyes locked on mine, his expression turning serious. "You're staying right here," he asserted with fierce determination. "Welcome to my place." "If anyone's leaving, it's Edward." I began to spin my story, but he cut me off. "I get your hesitation. This path clearly isn't for you." "Listen closely," he urged, his voice trembling with barely contained rage. "Claire, the choice is yours to own, and the shadows of that night with Jace will haunt you forever." In a silence that echoed, he packed his bag, each movement sharp and deliberate, like a well-rehearsed routine. Following him to the driveway, each step shattered my heart a little more. I apologized, my voice shaking, tears streaming down my face. He turned to me, his expression softer than I expected. "This isn't over," he declared, voice steady and fierce. "Did you know that, my friend?" I nodded, but inside, doubt flickered, casting shadows on the truth of his words. As his car disappeared into the distance, a deep ache hit my chest, a whirlwind of guilt, loss, and a feeling I couldn't quite name. Those following days were packed with torment. Edward barely said a thing to me. His silence was a heavy burden, a punishment more profound than any words could express. I dove into a whirlwind of household tasks, trying to fill the emptiness inside me. No matter how hard I worked, that emptiness stuck around, impossible to shake off. A week later, the letter burst onto the scene. Jace sent it, no return address, but his unmistakable handwriting was clear, just my name on the envelope. I opened it with trembling hands, my heart racing as I unfolded the paper. Claire, I know things are complicated right now, but listen closely. I meant every word I said. The story isn't over yet. I brush off what others think or say. I'm not going anywhere. I won't take anything from you. When the moment arrives, I'll be here, eagerly waiting for you. I read the letter, hands trembling, going through it 3 times. A part of me craved to tear it apart, ignite it, and wipe it from memory entirely. Still, a part of me clung to his words like a lifeline, even though I was hesitant to admit it. That night, I tucked the letter into the back of my dresser drawer, hiding it like a secret I wasn't ready to share. I knew, deep down, that Jace was right. The story was just getting started, nowhere near it.